It's 4 o'clock, special coverage live on 7 News. Iran braces for payback after sending missiles flying over Israel. Evacuation plans in place for 15,000 Australians in Lebanon. And October 7 rally organisers vow to march even if it's ruled illegal.
This is 7 Sydney Afternoon News.
Good afternoon. Well, as we go to air, Israel is plotting its revenge against Iran, vowing to strike back after Tehran fired at least 180 missiles. Now, the barrage was retaliation for a ground offensive against its Hezbollah allies in Lebanon. We're taking you live now to Tel Aviv, and Benjamin Netanyahu is right now deciding exactly how his forces will respond to this attack. Leaders around the world nervously now watching on. US correspondent Tim Lester is live for us in Washington, D.C. And Tim, Joe Biden has said that Israel has the ironclad support of the White House.
Good afternoon, Matt. Yes, the US president at pains to point out, particularly to Israel's enemies in the Middle East, that if they attack Israel, they will attack essentially the US, and the US will be there to help them. And no better illustration than the way today unfolded. The quite extraordinary and frightening sight of more than 180 ballistic missiles fired by Tehran on Israel, forcing many of the 10 million citizens of Israel to flee to bomb shelters and take cover as this terror rained down on them. As it turned out, Israel's defences, its Iron Dome and other missile defences, and US defences with their destroyers in the area, proved a match for the incoming missiles. And the only death reported as a result of this quite extraordinary attack was a Palestinian man in the West Bank. Israelis apparently escaping any injuries or death, but remarkably lucky in many respects and having the technology to do that today. Here in Washington, the US President Joe Biden, his Vice President and security team watched this all in real time in the strategy room of the White House, making contact with US forces and ordering them to assist the Israelis, the President then speaking afterwards.
At my direction, the United States military actively supported the defense of Israel, and we're still assessing the impact. But based on what we know now, the attack appears to have been defeated and ineffective. Make no mistake, the United States is fully supportive of Israel.
Tim, the vision we've just seen there really difficult to comprehend. Exactly how was the US involved, and as an ally, did Australia play any part?
Well, first on the question of Australia, Matt, no, not physically, though as an ally it's been quick to support the position taken by the US and condemn the attack on Israel. The UK and others have chimed in with similar sentiments. The US, though, has enormous resources in the Middle East, and they've been bolstered recently. The US President just yesterday adding more than 2,000 US troops and extra US aircraft to the commitment in the Middle East. Now roughly 43,000 US personnel there, and they were deployed today particularly via 2 destroyers that joined the effort to shoot down the incoming missiles, the Pentagon later explaining how this happened.
During the attack, the U.S. military coordinated closely with the Israeli Defense Forces to help defend Israel. U.S. Navy destroyers deployed to the Middle East region supported the defense of Israel by firing approximately a dozen interceptors against the incoming Iranian missiles. Initial reports indicate that Israel was able to intercept the majority of incoming missiles and that there was minimal damage on the ground.
All of this happening as Israel continues its military operations in Lebanon. One, the aerial bombing of Hezbollah positions. Another 55 people reported dead by Lebanese officials today. And 2, of course, those ground missions, troops going in over the northern border to take out Hezbollah positions in the south of Lebanon. Both of those going on today. And a third quite frightening and deadly incident in Tel Aviv today, in the suburb of Jaffa. Rafah, 2 armed men getting off a light rail and opening fire with military assault weapons, it seems, killing 6 people, seriously wounding a number of others. Apparently one of them killed on the scene, another injured and taken into custody. A terror incident, according to the Israelis, happening just as they were dealing with incoming missiles from Iran. A sense of the quite extraordinary sense of threat around Israel and in the Middle East today. Matt?
Yeah, and in the meantime, the world holds its breath for Israel's response. Tim Lester, live for us there in the US capital. Thank you. Well, the government has helped around 100 Australians book tickets or secure flights out of Lebanon, and this afternoon an estimated 15,000 citizens remain in the country. Let's go live now to Hayden Nelson, who joins us from Parliament House. And Hayden, the Prime Minister now has a number of evacuation plans in place should this conflict worsen.
Matt, all options are on the table, including an emergency evacuation involving the ADF. We know of 20 Australians who have so far made it out of Beirut on commercial flights, while another 80 tickets have been secured by our diplomatic staff for a flight tomorrow. They've flown to Dubai and we understand they'll continue on to Australia. It's estimated 15,000 Australians remain in Lebanon, and our Foreign Minister says efforts are underway involving assistance from Canada and the UK to assist them. There is only one commercial airline flying in and out of Beirut International Airport, with our government offering loans to help Australians secure a safe route out of the conflict.
We've been calling for many months for people to leave the region, for Australian citizens to come to safety in Australia. The Australian government, of course, will always do our best to look after Australian citizens.
People should heed the advice of the government to leave on the commercial flights that are available as soon as possible. We need to make sure that people who are coming out of a very difficult part of the world haven't been involved in activities that could be a threat to our national security.
The ADF has stepped in this region before, evacuating more than 5,000 Australians from Lebanon during the Lebanon War in 2006. The Prime Minister has condemned Iran's missile strike and has repeated his calls for an immediate ceasefire.
At Parliament House in Canberra, Hayden Nelson, thank you. Well, pro-Palestine protesters are being warned against rallying this weekend on the anniversary of the October 7 massacre. Police have now applied to the Supreme Court for powers to ban 2 demonstrations through the CBD, political leaders backing the decision.
It's not a time to raise temperature. It's a time to try to make sure that social cohesion in Australia is valued.
Police claim the right to free speech should be trumped by safety concerns. Taylor Aitken has the response from organisers just after 4:30. And 7 News will have comprehensive coverage of the Middle East conflict tonight at 6 p.m. and in a special edition of The Latest tonight at 10:30. Well, new details have emerged in court today about a Sydney teacher accused of sexually abusing 2 of her students. In one incident, police allege she propositioned a boy at school. Annie Puller reports.
Good afternoon. Taylor Brayley showed very little emotion when she fronted court here in Campbelltown, accused of performing a sexual act on a second student before propositioning him for sex inside a classroom. Supported by her parents and sister, the disgraced PE teacher kept her head down as she fronted a magistrate after being charged with 6 additional offences which relate to a 16-year-old student. The charges date back to July this year and centre around sexual acts performed in the classroom where the 30-year-old worked at a school in Sydney's southwest. During a 20-minute window, police say the married teacher sexually touched the student before inciting him to have sex with her. That same month, she's accused of exchanging sexual videos with the student on Instagram over a 12-day period. Brayley allegedly warned the student not to disclose their conversations to anyone because she feared her husband would find out. The allegations against you are fairly sickening. Do you have anything to say? 7 News understands police identified the second alleged victim after combing through her phone. Brayley won't be required to attend court at the end of this month after her lawyer requested her appearance be excused due to intense media scrutiny.
Well, Western Sydney Airport reached a new milestone this afternoon. A plane has taken off and landed for the first time, part of testing on around 3,000 aeronautical ground flights along the runway.
We have so many milestones here at this airport because it's a massive and complex build. All the lighting systems are LED, so we can actually make them brighter or softer. And so this is really, are all of them working properly? Can you see them from the sky? And then what exactly do we need to do? And then he'll keep on testing that through the day and into the early evening.
Replete with LED lighting. It's a new phase before the opening in 2026. That full story tonight at 6. Well, Grace Fitzgibbon joins us now with the very latest on Sydney's weather. Grace, wet, overcast. Sydney couldn't quite make up its mind today.
That's right, Matt. The sunshine we enjoyed yesterday was certainly short-lived. Over the Harbour Bridge, we sat under significant cloud all day, looking particularly grey this afternoon. Those rain-bearing clouds made for a warmer morning, 16 degrees at 5 a.m. This afternoon, we reached a high of 21 in the city. Beyond the city, though, light showers across the Sydney Basin, less than a millimetre for most. Temperatures hovered below the October average. Just 12 degrees at Katoomba today. Statewide scattered showers along the coast and adjacent ranges, dry and mostly sunny elsewhere. A warm high of 23 up at Coffs Harbour, even warmer inland at Parkes with a top of 24. On the latest satellite map, a high pressure system over the Bass Strait is set to shift over the Tasman Sea, producing onshore winds along the coast over the coming days. The next cold front and its associated trough looks set to cross the state late this week. So does that mean a drop in temperatures? I've got all those details coming up for you shortly.
Thank you very much, Grace. Well, next on 7 News, Iran's big mistake. A retired army chief joins us live on Israel's payback threat. An avalanche of new sex abuse accusers come forward suing Sean Diddy, Combs and Buckingham Palace announces a royal baby on the way.
World on edge as the Middle East erupts. Only 7 News has the most comprehensive coverage with the team Australia trusts. Live tonight at 6.
Welcome back to 7 News. Well, Iran will pay for what Israel has called a big mistake. That was the threat from Benjamin Netanyahu after Tehran fired a flurry of missiles over his country. Gus McLaughlin is a retired Major General who served as UN peacekeeper in Lebanon. Gus, thank you for being with us. The big question that so many around the world are asking right now, how will Israel respond?
When you and I spoke the last time that Israel struck Iran, we talked about a fairly moderated response. I think at that stage, with the war in Gaza at its peak, it was in Israel's interest to keep a lid on things. I think what we're going to see this time, though, is a much more emboldened Israel. They've severely depleted Hezbollah, particularly the command and control through those incredible intelligence-driven operations. And I think that means that Israel is now less concerned about that northern flank. And I think we're going to see a firmer strike back on Iran, although I hope and am confident that will still be contained to military targets in an effort to cap this activity. These two nations do not want to go to war.
Yeah, but even hearing you say a firmer response, Gus, is really the stuff of nightmares, considering what we've seen. The ground invasion of Lebanon appears to have been the final straw. We have heard Israel using cautionary phrases like targeted, like limited. Do you think that rhetoric changes now?
I think it has escalated. There's no question in my mind that the Israeli response will be firmer. You know, that's a throwaway, isn't it? A colloquialism. They will drop a significantly larger amount of bombs. I anticipate those that will still be on things like air defence weapons, probably signalling to the Iranians that they can strike their nuclear industry if necessary. But I think it'll be short of outright attempts to replace the Iranian regime, for example.
What would an all-out war in this region between Israel and Iran look like?
Well, I think this is what everybody fears, this notion of escalation. How do you take an action that doesn't trigger full war? There's rumours that out of Iran that there is division even in that country. A new president, slightly more moderate, overruled, we think, by the Republican Guard, who pushed for more aggressive action. They wanted aggressive action because these surrogate armies, the Houthi, Hamas and Hezbollah, all want proof that Iran is in their corner. So we're in this really tense position where Iran has to show it's tough, but on the other hand, Israel is fighting for its existence and won't back down.
But that domestic instability that you've just flagged in Iran makes the situation even more unpredictable and volatile, doesn't it?
It does, and of course we've got the same unpredictability in Israel. Netanyahu's political position is tenuous. I think his popularity has surged since the intelligence strikes on the pager command and control network. So Netanyahu is on the rise. So all of these activities are pushed through a lens of the two countries' internal political situation.
Gus, you know this area well, given your diplomatic past. We're really grateful for your analysis this afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Well, moving on now, and Sean Diddy Combs is facing sexual assault lawsuits now from 120 new accusers. 25 of them were children at the time of the alleged attacks. The youngest victim was 9 years old. An attorney, in Houston has taken on the civil cases.
That really wasn't a secret at all has finally been revealed to the world. The wall of silence has now been broken, and victims are coming forward.
In response to the avalanche of cases, defence lawyers say they cannot address every meritless allegation. The music mogul is in jail awaiting trial in New York, accused of sex trafficking. Well, Princess Beatrice is expecting a second child with her husband. The baby, which will be the 11th in line to the throne, will be born next year. 2 new photos of the family were shared to mark the announcement. The couple has a 3-year-old daughter together, while Eduardo Mapelli-Mozzi has a son from a previous relationship. Buckingham Palace said everyone is, quote, delighted. The Duchess of York said becoming a granny again fills her heart with so much happiness and gratitude. Well, Australia's original Winter Olympics golden girl, Alyssa Camplin, will lead our team to the 2026 Games in Italy after being named chef de mission.
Deeply about our athletes and our coaches, and I'm really looking forward to bringing my full experience, but also my passion for excellence and passion for performance and passion for people.
What a choice. Camplin became our first female Winter Olympics gold medalist at the Games in Salt Lake City. That was 22 years ago. Well, next in Seven's afternoon news, sport with Mel McLaughlin, including the Storm star tipped to take home the NRL's most prestigious individual award, plus former captain Luke Parker set to leave the Swannies. And later, holiday shopping, Aldi starts selling travel packages. We'll have the pros and the cons.
Seconds from death.
It's pouring, cannot see anything.
Floodwater rising.
I thought at this point I'm going to die.
And then...
Coming! We're coming!
An exclusive report, every heart-stopping second, and the emotional reunion. Sydney's SES heroes on 7 News at 6.
Tonight in 7 News, Iran unleashes a missile barrage on Israel. Special live coverage as Australians flee. Sydney police went on a weekend of protest chaos. A history-making test flight at the Western Sydney Airport. Pleas for a pay rise for hundreds of thousands of workers. And the supermarket giant now offering travel deals. 7 News at 6.
Time for sport now with Mel McLaughlin. And Mel, OK, the suspense almost over. The NRL's best player to be crowned tonight.
Rugby League's Night of Nights, Matt, you're right, and Storm halfback Jerome Hughes is the favourite to win the Dally M medal, but says victory over the Panthers in Sunday night's grand final is much more important. The 29-year-old Kiwi, who has taken his game to a new level this season, is trying to ignore the hype.
I feel like there's a lot of talk about it. I don't know why, but the boys have been getting stuck into me as well. A lot of great players that have won that award, and you know, there's a lot of great players in our game at the moment, so to be put up there in conversation with the likes of those guys, it's, like I said, really surreal.
Super modest indeed. The head-to-head battle between Hughes and Nathan Cleary will be decisive at Accor Stadium on Sunday night. The Storm are due to touch down in Sydney shortly. Well, assuming the decider doesn't go to Golden Point, James Fisher-Harris has just 80 minutes left as a Panther. A cornerstone of Penrith's triple premiership dynasty, the 28-year-old Kiwi is preparing to farewell the club he has called home for more than a decade.
It is my last game. That's just how it is, and I'm going to have fun doing it with the bros. Definitely very comfortable here, but yeah, my time has come. Fisher-Harris will return home to New Zealand at the end of the season to link up with the Warriors.
Former Swans captain Luke Parker has almost certainly played his last game for the club. The 293-game, 14-season veteran has requested a trade to North Melbourne, who are willing to offer him a multi-year deal. Parker was one of Sydney's best in the grand final debacle against the Lions, booting 3 goals in the final term. The last remaining member of the Swans' 2012 premiership team, coach John Longmire, says Parker is one of the all-time greats. Australia wrapped up preparations for the Women's T20 World Cup with a scrappy 35-run win in their warm-up game against the West Indies in Dubai. The Aussies are learning to deal with a scorching heat, with temperatures still topping 30 at night.
That sharing of information, learning to adapt. Yeah, we're in kind of new conditions that we haven't really played in as a group before.
Australia's quest for a 4th straight World Cup crown begins against Sri Lanka on Saturday night. The Mariners' first Asian Champions League game in Gosford in almost a decade was spoilt by former Melbourne City star Curtis Good. Now playing for Thai side Buriram United, Good scored the match winner.
Gossick swings it in. They have a second. Curtis Good forward.
Central Coast keeper Adam Pavlicic was red carded in the second half of the 2-1 defeat. The Mariners are winless from 2 games now. Arsenal have their first win of this season's Champions League, cruising past French giants PSG. Ben Simmons is ready to launch his latest comeback from injury, now fully recovered from the major back surgery that limited him to just 15 NBA games last year. The 28-year-old says his critics have short memories.
I think people forget, me as a player when I'm healthy. I could play basketball. I'm pretty good, right? So for me, it's just being consistent with that and staying on top of my body.
The NBA season is 3 weeks away. Pre-season games begin this weekend. It's funny listening to Ben Simmons, and then you've got the Kiwis that we just heard from, James Fisher-Harris and Jerome Hughes. Are so modest.
So modest, but I'm surprised. Simmons doesn't have critics, does he?
No.
And spite is a powerful motivator, so watch him come back injury-free and just dominate.
Hopefully he sees this and it's a motivation he needs.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mel. Well, moving on now, and Aldi has become the first Australian supermarket to offer travel deals. Sean White has been investigating the discounts and destinations you can expect.
Well, booking a break on a budget just got easier, with supermarket giant Aldi now offering competitive deals on getaways. Well, these will be available through a new online portal called Aldi Holidays. Well, the cheapest starting at $449 for 5 nights in Surfers Paradise. Stay the whole week in Thailand for an extra $150. There's offers for Fiji, Bali and Hawaii. So what are the cons? Well, limited availability, as they will operate like the supermarket special buys, available until sold out. And some people might be disappointed that flights aren't included. Sean White, 7 News.
Run, don't walk. OK, thank you, Sean. Well, this afternoon's top stories are next, including Australians escape the war zone, passengers from Beirut about to land in Sydney. Civility returns to the debate stage. The vice presidential hopefuls make their election pitches. And Telco's taking too long to fix issues. The average wait time revealed.
This is 7 Sydney Afternoon News.
Welcome back to our afternoon news live here on 7. Well, a sense of dread hangs over the Middle East as we go to air. Israel saying it will hit back at Iran for a ballistic missile ambush. This is a live shot from Jerusalem where projectiles were sent flying as well as into Tel Aviv. All up, 180 rockets were fired. It is seen as revenge for an Israeli ground invasion of Lebanon. Benjamin Netanyahu has said Tehran has made a big mistake and will pay for it.
Iran had warned revenge would come, and it did. The intelligence said an attack was imminent. As sirens sounded, it was underway. As night fell, the Israeli sky was alight with a wave of incoming missiles. Defence systems tested as never before. Israel under attack. A few minutes' notice appears to have protected from mass casualties. What is unfolding in Israel is in part a result of the death of Hassan Nasrallah, Hezbollah's leader and a great ally to the Iranians. The ballistic assault from Tehran is of a totally different magnitude to what's been seen so far. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned of testing days ahead and urged resilience, but he's determined to win. Iran's position has been hardened by Israel's ground operation into Lebanon, said to be limited, localised and targeted. However, what the Israelis see as an incursion, critics view as an invasion.
We are doing it as short as we can, days, weeks. I will not say to the enemy, we will do the necessary thing in a limited and local operation that we are conducting now.
In Gaza, they began celebrating a sky filled with missiles for once not bound for them. In Beirut, guns were fired. Iran is known for its strategic patience. It seems that patience has run out. A very dark, dangerous moment for the region and the world. In the United States, Smiley Hogan, 7 News.
Well, as the situation in the Middle East deteriorates, Australians are scrambling to escape Lebanon. Angelique Opie is live for us at Sydney Airport. Angel, flights with passengers from Beirut are expected to land shortly.
Matt, there are no direct flights from Lebanon to Sydney, with travellers transiting through Doha and Dubai. Qatar Airways and Emirates flights from these two hubs are due to land within the hour. It's estimated around 15,000 Australians are still in Lebanon, and the Australian government is increasing its efforts to secure seats on the commercial airlines that are still flying. However, what's most worrying is that missiles have fallen close to Beirut Airport, and if it is closed, that would shut down the main route of escape.
Yesterday, finally secured a ticket with Middle East Airlines to fly out from Beirut to Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. We were quite lucky because the Qatari Airlines had cancelled my original flights back without notifying me.
Also, last night's missile barrage from Iran has caused major delays for other passengers flying to Australia. As you can see from the flight tracker, aircraft are being diverted around the Middle East, some aircraft making unscheduled landings in other countries such as Greece. So, Matt, loved ones, anyone who has anyone overseas is being urged to check with airlines for updated arrival times.
Yeah, pretty tense wait. OK, thank you very much to Angel there. Well, police are heading to the Supreme Court in an attempt to stop pro-Palestine protests this weekend on the October 7 massacre anniversary. Taylor Aitken joins me now at the desk. And Taylor, what exactly is the reasoning behind this decision?
Well, it all comes down to safety, Matt. New South Wales Police believe they won't be able to keep attendees safe if these rallies go ahead as planned. The Palestine Action Group is planning a protest at Town Hall on Sunday to mark 1 year of conflict in Gaza, with tens of thousands of people expected to attend. There is also a candlelit vigil planned for Monday to mark 12 months since the October 7 attacks. But despite conversations with organisers about potentially moving the location to Hyde Park, police have confirmed they will be heading to the Supreme Court instead to prohibit the two events. The Palestine Action Group has been holding similar rallies every Sunday for 51 weeks now, and say this weekend's will still go ahead with or without Supreme Court approval. But the Premier, Chris Minns, he's backing the police decision.
We're confident, actually, that we can win in court. But as I said, even if we were to lose that case, we'll be going ahead with our protest. We've been doing this for 51 weeks now. We are definitely not going to stop now.
The police didn't believe that the march and protest could be done safely on Sydney streets, and as a result, they believe they had no alternative.
And in some developing news this afternoon, a woman has been charged with displaying a prohibited terrorist organisation symbol following a rally last Sunday when protesters flew Hezbollah flags for slain leader Hassan Nasrallah. The federal police warning officers similar action will continue if protesters fly the same flags. Matt?
Let's hope there's no violence. OK, Taylor, thank you. And 7 News will have comprehensive coverage on the Middle East conflict. That's tonight at 6 p.m. and also in a special edition of The Latest tonight at 10:30. In their one and only vice presidential debate, Democrat Tim Walz and Republican JD Vance have faced off, arguing over policy and the accomplishments of their running mates. While it was mainly a polite encounter, in the background, Donald Trump kept up a stream of abusive social media posts. US Bureau Chief David Woiwod has more from New York.
Well, this was a largely policy-heavy debate here in New York City tonight, with few of the zingers and personal attacks that marked their boss's first encounter last month. Republican JD Vance and his Democrat rival Tim Walz facing off for the first time, tackling the Middle East, the economy, guns and reproductive rights, with immigration, though, centre stage.
Kamala Harris started and said that she wanted to undo all of Donald Trump's border policies. That has opened the floodgates.
Most of us want to solve this, and that is the United States Congress. Donald Trump said no. Told them to vote against it because it gives him a campaign issue.
The backgrounds of both men were sifted over. Walz's connection to and time in China.
I got there that summer and misspoke on this, and I'm a knucklehead at times.
Well, Vance's past comments about his boss.
You said he could be America's Hitler.
I was wrong about Donald Trump.
Railing online in real time. Donald Trump joined the debate in all caps. Tim Walz is a total joke.
Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future.
That is a damning non-answer.
The night, though, ended with a handshake. The candidates and partners sharing a chat on stage. Civility that's been missing from this campaign.
Let's go, Coach!
In deep blue New York, the streets were behind Coach Walz, as he's known.
I love his positions. I love his heart. I love his genuineness. We are patriotic Americans and we want to take our country back.
But it's a much larger slice of America he and his Republican rival will need to convince if they're to get enough votes. Election day now, just 34 days away.
David Woiwod for us there. Well, telco companies have been slammed by the regulator for failing to fix customer issues in a reasonable time frame. While the number of complaints fell by 13% over the past 12 months, businesses are no longer they are taking longer, I should say, to rectify problems. Australians are waiting on average 6 days for a resolution. Our finance report with ING Bank is ahead, plus state-of-the-art extensions to Liverpool Hospital ready to open to patients, and a devoted dad who didn't let Hurricane Helene get in the way of his daughter's wedding. It is 18 degrees in Penrith. Sydney's full forecast, that's soon.
Seconds from death.
It's pouring, cannot see anything.
Floodwater rising.
I thought at this point I'm going to die.
And then...
Coming! We're coming!
An exclusive report, every heart-stopping second, and the emotional reunion. Sydney's SES heroes on 7 News at 6.
A man has been killed at a Western Sydney warehouse after becoming trapped under falling shelves. Police were called to the plastering business this morning, describing it as an absolute tragedy. Andrew Denny has been at the scene.
Well, very sad news coming out of Clyde near Sydney Olympic Park here this morning following an industrial accident inside this building materials warehouse. A 55-year-old man worked here at Plastermaster and was killed after racking holding plasterboard panels collapsed on top of him. Emergency services racing here just before 8 a.m.
This morning our firefighters responded to a terrible incident here this morning where someone has lost their life. There's racking that has been involved that has become unstable. Our firefighters moved in to stabilise that.
It's understood colleagues were able to pull the worker free. Paramedics on scene quickly, but sadly he couldn't be revived. The cause of this morning's accident is thought to be a truck that clipped pallets and shelving inside the warehouse, causing building materials to fall. It is a family-owned business here. The news hitting colleagues and neighbouring workers hard.
Very tragic, very sad. They're the best neighbours you could ever ask for. They help us out all the time with the forklifts and moving vehicles around. Mate, we share a beer with them at Christmas.
Police will now prepare a report for the coroner into what led up to this morning's accident as investigators from SafeWork New South Wales begin their own investigation.
The new $830 million Liverpool Health and Education Precinct was unveiled today. The state-of-the-art building will open in the coming weeks. It includes an extended neonatal intensive care unit and also birthing suites.
This is about making sure that we keep up the investment
with the growing population. This is about making sure this growing community gets the health services it needs and deserves.
The second phase of the project will begin early next year, featuring an integrated cancer centre. Well, to ING Bank now for a quick wrap-up of the market this Wednesday. Here's Karunya Narayanan.
Fresh concerns over actions in the Middle East have impacted global and local markets. A second session of decline with the ASX down by 11 points to close at around 8198. Energy stocks have received a boost, with Woodside trading higher by 3.4%, ending at $26, and Karoon Energy up 7.9% to $1.64. Yesterday's decline in mining stocks seeing a slight reversal in fortune with some gains across the day. Qantas saw another drop in the index by 3% to finish at $6.95. Interest rate markets currently implying a 100% chance of a 0.25% rate cut by February. Today, the Aussie dollar buys you 69 cents.
Thank you, Karunya. Well, Sydney's 6 p.m. news is coming up with Angela Cox and Mark Ferguson. Ange, what's on the program?
Hello, Matt. We are monitoring every crucial development in the Middle East and we'll bring you special coverage. Full details on Iran's missile barrage, as many as 200 missiles unleashed, their biggest ever attack on Israel. We'll also hear from Australians who have fled Lebanon and those who are trying desperately to escape. Also, we'll show you some exclusive video of an inferno ravaging a Burwood hotel as more than a dozen people scrambled to safety. Why the best holiday deals on offer for this summer might come from Aldi. Is salmon the holy grail of anti-wrinkle treatments? We put the new craze to the test. And the inspiring mission from a group of Camden mates to run 100 kilometres for their friend who leaves behind a widow and a baby. Their emotional journey, turning their mate's unfinished dream into reality. Matt, it's a story of mateship, family and community. It's really special. That and much more in Sydney's 7 News at 6.
Looking forward to it. Thank you very much, Ange. Well, there's nothing like a father's love. Despite finding himself stuck in Hurricane Helene, David Jones travelled 43 kilometres to make his daughter's wedding. When the marathon runner arrived at a collapsed bridge, he set off on foot, walking more than half the distance, hitching a ride from a trooper and a kind passerby. The desperate dad fell waist deep into sand, lost his shoe, climbed roots and trekked through mud, ignoring advice from law enforcement to turn around.
And I said, well, you don't understand. My daughter's getting married at 11 o'clock this morning, and I'm going to be there to walk her down the aisle.
Just beautiful. The father of the bride made it in time, saying he just did what any dad would do. Well, stay with us on 7's Afternoon News. Grace Fitzgibbon is back with Sydney's latest forecast. That's right after this.
Good afternoon, Andrea Panomo here in the Allcastle Homes traffic chopper. In Greystanes, if you need to get onto the M4, expect delays westbound at Edelong Road from an earlier collision. Traffic now extending all the way back to James Bruce Drive. We're also seeing delays on Parramatta Road westbound approaching the motorway as well. Allcastle Homes Bannaby 38 with attached 3-bedroom granny. 8 bedrooms from $659,995 on your land. allcastlehomes.com.au.
The world on edge as the Middle East erupts. Only 7 News has the most comprehensive coverage with the Team Australia trusts. Live tonight at 6.
7 News, Iran unleashes a missile barrage on Israel. Special live coverage as Australians flee. Sydney police went on a weekend of protest chaos. A history-making test flight at the Western Sydney Airport. Pleas for a pay rise for hundreds of thousands of workers. And the supermarket giant now offering travel deals. 7 News at 6.
Grace Fitzgibbon is back now with the weather. Grace, tomorrow looking slightly clearer?
A little bit, Matt, yes, but still plenty of cloud hanging about. Just as we saw today, those rain-bearing clouds lingered across the entire Sydney basin. In the CBD this afternoon, the temperature peaked at 21 degrees. This is what's happening on the latest satellite map. A high-pressure system is tracking to park itself right over Tasmania, and that will likely produce onshore winds along the coast in the coming days. A cold front and associated trough in the west is also heading our direction, but it isn't due to hit New South Wales until a little later this week. likely to bring some scattered showers our way. For now, though, the east coast is looking partly cloudy tomorrow. 24 the forecast high in Brisbane. Canberra, a chilly low of 4, warming to 23 with lots of cloud. Looking like a sunny day on the way for Melbourne with 25 degrees. Showers are likely in Adelaide, a high of 28 the expected top. And that cold front is causing a lot more rain in Western Australia. 18 degrees the expected high for Perth tomorrow. Sunshine up in Darwin, a top of 35 degrees. Here in Sydney, it's looking like a partly cloudy day tomorrow. A low chance of showers, but remaining light. 14 is the expected low in the city, set to climb to a top of 21 at around lunch. From there, a bit of a mixed bag. Looks like a cold start for those in our western suburbs on Friday with a low of just 8 degrees there, but it will climb to a top of 26. And into the weekend, there is a chance of showers, but have a look at all that warmth. 29 degrees is the expected high in the city, 28 for those in our west. Matt, it might be a busy day out at Penrith Beach.
I suspect you're right about that. Thank you very much, Grace. And that's Sydney's 4 p.m. news for this Wednesday. Angela Cox and Mark Ferguson will bring you 7 News at 6. I'm Matt Doran, and stay with 7 Now for the Chase Australia. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for being with us. Have a great night.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want every minute of every day, including breaking news alerts. Download the 7 News app now.